everyone. Welcome back to our ArtPath Artist Talks series. My name is Sabrin. I'm a gallery associate at the Lansing Art Gallery and Education Center. With me today we have Michelle Carlson, our acting executive director, Katrina Daniels, Sarah Parker, and Cora Ackerson. The Lansing Art Gallery and Education Center is a nonprofit organization that has been a staple in the Lansing community for over 50 years and a leader in the creation of public art in Lansing for over the last 12 years. ArtPath is celebrating its 5th year this year and is one of those public art programs. ArtPath is the result of the hard work of Katrina Daniels and Emily Stevens of the Lansing, or the City of Lansing Parks and Recreation Department, and we want to say a special thank you to our sponsors, Rathburn Insurance and Auto Owners Insurance, as well as our site sponsor for today, the AF Group. And today we have Joan Bambery, so I'll hand the mic over to her.
Hello, does this work?
Yes.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome. My name is Joan Bambery. I'm the person who's going to be talking to y'all for the next 20 to 40 minutes. I did not time my talk as well as I probably should have, so I do mean 20 to 40 minutes. I first off would like to say a big thank you to absolutely everyone involved in making ArtPath happen. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to make something this big and this eventful happen. There is a lot of things we can put our time, energy, and effort into, and the fact that this was chosen means a lot for the community and for any individual walking through. So absolutely, thank you. All right, what to do? I was asked to come talk in the middle of this field because, as they said, I am the artist behind Fish Fighters, Lansing mural. Hopefully you guys like the work, because if not, this is going to be a lot more awkward. Just a little background about me before we get really into it, so you know who's talking to you. My name is Joan. I am 25, and I fairly recently graduated from Michigan State with a BFA in studio art and a minor in graphic design. Really recently. Like, I'm still in that melancholic, I just graduated college, I have all these blocks that college taught me, I have to arrange these blocks into being my new life somehow, some way, and it's gonna happen eventually. But, okay, anyway. My past works have been shown in museums like the Broad, Museum in Dearborn, the MSU Museum, Kretzky exhibit. I do a lot of conceptual work that is focused on kind of niches. I did a piece called The Drunks, a series that was all about the drunks wandering around East Lansing and how they're all in their sort of independent headspaces, where they're all isolated from each other but still existing in the same space. I did a public performance at the Broad Museum where it was about caregiving and caring for a terminal patient and how that takes a toll on the caregiver. I have done a sticker campaign promoting women's solidarity internationally. Those got placed in places like Palestine and Rome and Venice with my collaborators in Palestine. That was off the top of my head, so now we're back to the script. I'm a multimedia artist with a focus on public art, video game culture, the contemporary zeitgeist, and the foundations of fun. That last one is what we were mostly going to be talking about today. I will say right off the bat that I am not a very up-in-airs type of person. What I mean by that is that I'm a rather casual human being. I do prefer the term approachable, but I will take casual. I'm just not one to really hide how I feel about something, hide what I think about something, and giving one's honest thoughts on something is not always appropriate for an honest setting. That being said, I am not saying that I am not professional. Both my parents were fairly high-powered lawyers after all. I've been texting formal behavior contracts since I was 13 years old, trying to get my father to let me have a sleepover, like, all included party members are aware and eager to adhere to the stated rules. It should be understood that any differences between the parties' expected behavior and performed behavior are due only to the parties' incompetence and not to any malicious intent to authority figures. It should be understood that all information gained during the event is going to go back to the authority figures. I love language. The precision of professional language is beautiful. Being able to articulate possibly controversial declarations in a way that is absolutely irrefutable is an amazing skill. Even just communicating well in general is kind of a big deal. That's why people like Kurt Vonnegut and George Carlin are very dear to my heart. C.S. Lewis is also a rock star, but for slightly different, yet surprisingly similar reasons. I've been trained in the fine arts, a world that revels in its own high standards. I spent years in art school learning how to stand next to the people dressed in really fancy scarves and really fancy drapey thingies and really fancy shawls, really any fancy expensive thing that drapes off your body and shows that you're creative. Gorgeous, intellectual, academic artists with a big A who totally know how to clip a microphone onto their shirt on the first try because they are extremely used to people asking them what they think. Truly brilliant people whose job is to articulate very complex thoughts, distill them into new, understandable, yet surprising forms, and stand in front of complete strangers while calling themselves an authority figure on the topic. The fine art world is all about its own stately authority, which it's earned through hard-hitting conceptual work and overwhelming artistic prowess. Fine art museum work is, for the most part, respected. And that is where Fish Fighters comes into play. And probably where I should put up my hair.
I can hold the mic for you while you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. The wind drives me crazy.
Yeah, it's a little windy.
Okay. That's also what I do when I'm working on the mural. Right. Fine art museum work is, for the most part, respected. And this is where Fish Fighters comes into play. Because I have a big question. It's a question that has bothered me ever since I was a little girl. Around the time when I started realizing that I personally can't be anything else other than what I am. Why can't these things be fun? Why can't respectful people be fun? Why does perfect articulation or academic brilliance have to be so stuffy? Do things have to be arguably pretentious to be respected? Do I have to be less approachable to be respected? Okay, now this is where the mural really does come up. It's just that Fish Fighters had a lot that went into it, despite it looking deceptively simple. I wanted a mural that was fun, approachable, engaging for all ages, but also a mural that had enough professional presence, enough exerted authority from itself, that it could still be genuinely respected. Fun is often thought of as a byproduct, but the fun in Fish Fighters was very meticulously crafted, through a lot of very dry art theory and many years of dedicated study to many different intersecting mediums. I worked very hard to make that painting fun because I think there is a truly criminal lack of fun in the world, especially in important places that can really affect people. Fun is important. The mural was my experiment to see how much of it I could manufacture under a bridge with just a few dozen cans of spray paint. Fun is worth a lot. After all, it is a miraculous motivator. People, for the most part, love fun. If you ask someone why they did something, they're probably going to say because it's fun. But honestly, we have to take a look at what is fun. Because if you want to construct something, you have to know what it is, you have to know what makes up it, you have to know the side effects of it, you have to know everything about it in order to make it. So what is fun? As in, what is the feeling itself? What purpose does fun serve? How does it help us? How do we make fun? How many types of fun are there? When do we need fun? When do people want fun? Who has fun? What does it mean to not have fun? What are the side effects of having fun? Plus, not everyone has fun in the same way. What does that mean for that, quote, fun activity, or for the people involved in that fun activity? It's not that they don't like fun, but why is fun such a strong motivator? During the times when fun is considered inappropriate, is it just a certain type of fun that is considered inappropriate? What does it mean when we take fun away from events? What notions are we prioritizing by saying we can't have this level of enjoyment at this sort of event? Is fun inherently disrespectful? You can tell I was loads of fun in school. My hand was always in the air. I had a lot of questions. I found that many of these questions can be answered by breaking up the concept of fun into a handful of categories. In the same way that there are many different types of love and many different types of beauty, there are many different types of fun, and many of them can coexist. I won't take the time to list all of them. I'll write a book about that in a year or two. But the two types of fun I want to talk about today are empathetic fun and comforting fun. Specifically, how these two types of fun should be utilized in things like public art and fish fighters. Empathetic fun is fun had with another person or with the idea of another person that builds or aids an emotional connection between all included parties. That last part is really important because by ensuring all included parties are included in this newly creative positive emotional bond, you exclude the bullying mentality. Having fun at someone's expense is not empathetic fun. The most important part of an empathetic fun session is that there are no victims. Now this category of fun allows us to clearly inspect the binding agent in fun, because we normally like the people that we have fun with. Fun's binding agent is miraculous. Most of my friendships in college honestly lasted as long as they did because I was having fun with the people I was hanging out with. Have you ever known someone that isn't that good of a person, or maybe they're just not the person for you 95% of the time, but then you guys have fun together, and it's harder to get rid of that person from your life because you guys have fun together, doing something that maybe you don't always have fun with other people doing. You two are bonded through an empathetic fun session. It is very specific. Another example, maybe a pair of siblings don't get along very well. She's mean, he's dense, whatever. But they both love playing Minecraft, and it's better to play with each other instead of playing by yourself. So the only time these siblings are in the same room peacefully is when they're playing a video game together. When they get older, they will remember having fun together playing that video game. There will be good memories about this person and this activity because they had fun together. And when they're talking to strangers in college about their relationship with their siblings, because strangers often ask these types of questions, they will say things like, oh, we really hated each other as teenagers. He was really annoying. He came into my room all the time. But one summer we played Grand Theft Auto like every weekend. That was pretty cool. These are both empathetic fun sessions. It's magic. The act of having fun is magical. Person A is feeling a strong positive feeling, and because they're feeling that feeling, person B is able to join in and share in those same strong positive feelings. Then, because person B is feeling it, person A feels it even more. Everyone's happy. It's an excellent tool for building bonds, or at the very least, resetting the emotional score. We, as humans, can't create many things which inherently and naturally bind people together like having fun does. We try them. We give people group identities in hopes to bind them. Labels like Americans, Southerners, foreigners, gays, straights, what have you. And to very quickly explain why grouping people together under labels does not inherently create a bond between those people, because I'm fairly certain it is not new information, which I need to spend a lot of time on. The social bond created inside groups of people stem from the shared experience of those people. Say it again. The bond comes from the shared experience between the individuals, not the label of the group. That's part of the reason why our country struggles so much, despite all of us being Americans, and despite the intense shouting for the coming together as Americans. There are huge discrepancies between the shared American experience, so it is very hard to bond over the label of American. That makes it very hard for the group to be authentically bonded, point blank period. It's hard to come together when you don't really have nothing in common, or at least you don't have fun together. Okay. Another thing that doesn't work as a bonding agent is actively trying to make people happy. The purpose of my work is not really to make people happy. It is certainly my prioritized byproduct, I want to make people happy. But happiness is far too abstract of a concept to be able to reliably give it to large groups of people. You will most certainly make one group of people unhappy by making another group of people unhappy, so why bother? So I focus on making people have fun. I know how to make fun. I can handle that. I like doing things I know how to do. But anyway, speaking of unhappy people, what do unhappy people want? I will admit, there are many answers to that one, but at the core of all those answers, unhappy people, for the most part, want their unhappiness to be soothed. They want to feel comforted and safe until their unhappiness subsides. Comforting fun is intuitively fun that is experienced in an effort to soothe mental unrest. Think of a sport that you do to blow off some steam, or the fun you experience when you go for a drive, if you like going for a drive, or when you're sad, so you go for a walk, and then you feel soothed by your own enjoyment of the walk. You were sad, you did something you had fun doing, you feel better. Very straightforward. And yet, that activity of having fun and making people feel better through fun is more niche than it should be. There is a whole brand of video games called cozy games that are engineered specifically for this type of fun. It's a compassionate type of fun, one that is entirely geared towards serving its participants without self-interest, without airs, without pretentiousness, without any sort of, I need you to feel this sort of way about me. It just serves. It just makes you happy. Well, makes you have fun. And a byproduct of that is being happy. For the record, I am a video game designer by normal trade. That's another reason why I'm willing to stand here and talk about this, because a huge part of my job in that field is being able to create and understand fun. So empathetic fun binds people. It builds connections between people. It helps establish an empathetic foundation of, okay, we are doing this together, and that is good. I like being together. And comforting fun helps soothe people who are unhappy. Fish Fighters is a platform specifically for those two types of fun in a number of ways. There is an initial engagement with the piece, when the viewer is actively working through the multitude of small stories in the illustration, making judgments on each of the humorous characters, and searching for their fighter as the label invites them to do so. Select your fish fighter. They are theoretically enjoying their time while looking at the work. Then comes the generated subtext of the work. The fact that the composition is set up like a select your fighter screen from games like Smash Bros. Or Tekken subliminally prompts the viewer to think of what would be on the next screen. The mural allows the viewer to make up their own ideas for how each fish would move, behave, or fight. It provides the door for playful discussions, like who would win, and provides imagery for new stories that the viewer creates themselves. It's a platform for empathetic fun because the viewer can play these imagination games, either on their own or with a nearby person. And even when they are playing on their own, the viewer is still engaged with the idea of a person. There's me, the artist, the creator of the whole experience. If they have any questions or feelings directed towards the creator, and if they're thinking about that, they are engaging with the idea of me. If it's positive, great, everyone's happy, we love it when that happens. But I made the fish have such obvious characteristics, even went so far as to label them, so that the fish themselves can also serve as stand-ins for people, the idea of a person. And the viewer is directly engaged with these ideas of people. By doing that, there's now the possibility that these fish could represent people in the viewer's life. Maybe family fish reminds them of their mother, PC gamer fish reminds them of their nephew, fitness fish reminds them of their third roommate. It is very easy to project an identity onto these fish, which is partially what makes them so relatable. It's fun to play the which one am I game, or the which one is Sally game, especially with another person. It's empathetic fun because you are actively thinking about another person. A big pillar of public art is that whatever artwork is installed must somehow serve the community it is in. Public art has to be for the public. Public art is not an opportunity for me as an artist to get up and paint something 20 feet tall and 50 feet long just so people can come up and be like, oh wow, what a big important painter she is. It's not the goal. There's no reason to do that. You have to be trying to please or help the community in some way. If I'm going to be putting something in the middle of Lansing, I want it to serve Lansing. And the best way I personally can make my work serve people is by making sure it authentically appeals to a wide audience, making sure that people can have fun with whatever I put up, and having it acknowledge the different identities that are going to be interacting with it. Because public art is very specific. It is tied to the location that it is put in. Otherwise, you may as well just have a museum exhibit that tours the country. It should be directly related to where it is. Fish Fighters, for all that it is about the many different types of people in Lansing. Different identities and different passions are celebrated through representation on the wall. I've lived in the Lansing area for about 7 years now, and I've met a lot of different people during that time. It's an incredibly active and diverse city, and I wanted to celebrate them. I wanted to celebrate the people. So I thought about the culture in Lansing, and I thought about how much space I had, and I made like 28 characters. I made a number of characters, and they are stand-ins for some common identity elements found in the city. Business Fish, with his dress for the job you want hat and professional roller briefcase because he's always on the move, is focused on securing his future. I see those people walk down Capitol Street all the time. Skateboard Fish, because there is an avid skating and longboarding community in the area. I know the area. The area likes to skate. Same with Anime Fish. There is a whole decent anime convention that flows into town every year just to support the local anime community fan base. And Party Fish is doing their absolute best to hang in there. Academic Fish might very well be a reformed Party Fish. They both probably attend colleges in the area. Go green. There have been plenty of studies about the importance of representation, of how comforting and inspiring it is to see people who value the same things you do succeed. Seeing other people like you. No, nobody is literally a console gamer fish, but they are console gamers. And in the mural, what they are is of equal importance compared to what somebody else is. Let's say a bookworm fish. Because they're all fish, they're all in the same space, and they all do share the identity of fighting fish. They're all willing to fight for the respect, as we all should, but their identity is multifaceted and connects all of them. That's why they're all so wildly different, yet share common elements like color, number of limbs, head, shape, whatever. If you haven't caught on that the fish are metaphors for people, yeah, they're metaphors for people. It is comforting to have your unique identity and opinions validated. It feels really soothing to know that you are seen and appreciated for being you. Yes, the fish reference different types of identity in a rather abstract or roundabout way. But the characterization is still obviously there. Someone who loves anime is still going to come up to the wall, see the anime fish, and go, wow, that's really cool. I like anime too. And they're going to feel validated in the time and energy they put into something they love. I just want to help validate people's loves. It is worth putting time into whatever you think is fun, whatever you think is nice. It's worth it. It just is. I'm trying to validate all types of love, all types of identity, because it all deserves to be seen. Comfort is also delivered through most of the visuals in the mural, though it is incredibly subtle. I do not have the time to break down the fancy fine art theory behind making a painting soothing. I'd have to go into what triggers the human concept of comfort and what truly constitutes aggression and how to account for different perspectives and good versus bad ideology. You'll just have to trust me when I say the mural's approachability and relatability is its main comforting elements. Vibrant and impactful colors are attractive across age ranges, so I put everything on a black background to increase the color's intensity. Each fish is mostly contained in their own little box, making it easier for the viewer to digest all of the information I am throwing at them. Because being overwhelmed is not fun. Not knowing where to start is not fun. But Warhol is kind of fun. He was definitely onto something with those boxes. The strong and varied lines used to depict the fish are inspired by visual novels like DC Comics or Bungo Stray Dogs. Visual novels, comics, manga, whatever you wish to call it. It's a medium that is saturated with fun and approachability. So I studied how to handle the element of line and worked out a similar style inspired by its qualities. It's also one of the reasons I use big emotive characters with big endearing eyes. The people who have come before me have just realized that that's a good way to make someone like something. Give it big eyes that you can see its feelings in. Theoretically, humans are comforted by knowing all the variables in front of them. So when you can see or think about what something in front of you is thinking and feeling and know everything, you no longer think that that thing is going to hurt you. So you're comforted by it in the most baseline science sort of deal. I also made sure that all the fish are facing in very particular ways, so that the viewer's eye is led like an eccentric wave through the composition, or even like a pinball machine, where your eye goes there, goes there, goes there, goes there. Because getting stuck is not fun, but neither is being a typewriter and just kind of reading something this way, this way. It's not interesting. Art history and art theory says things like Baroque angles, dramatic inclines, and high contrast increase the energy of a painting. So that's what I used. The mural needed to be high energy because if it was low energy, it'd start to develop a more peaceful atmosphere. And a peaceful atmosphere is not inherently fun to large groups of people. It's fun to a lot of niches, but not to large groups of people. So I decided to go for more of a you're about to play laser tag sort of vibe, where you're high energy, you're excited, you're ready for this activity, and you're just ready. You're prepared for what's about to come. So any basic horizontal or vertical lines you find in the composition are there almost entirely as contrast for the diagonals. I chose the video game format to begin with because video games are in fact endearing across ages. It comes down to even the generation who would go to the arcade and pop in a quarter and play a game, to the iPad kids, to I saw a 14-year-old dragging his older sister to the wall going, hey, it looks like a video game, come look at this. And it was just sweet. Video games are really good at bridging the gap between generations. They're fun. All of this creates a very approachable work of art, something that hopefully people want to engage with. Okay, I was lucky. I introduced types of fun. I explained empathetic fun and comforting fun. I touched on the importance of each specific type of fun. I went through some ways that the Fish Fighters mural creates those fun in particular, as well as some of the elements I use to encourage other sorts of excited, childlike wonder, fun, enjoyment presence. So that's why Fish Fighters looks the way it does. That's why it's colorful, that's why it's just a little bit ridiculous, that's why it's the way it is. It's mostly because I think it's just really important to have fun. Yeah.
I have a question. Yes. So you talked a lot about like your thoughts behind it and the concepts behind it, and then also like the ideas behind the imagery. But do you want to share with everyone like more about like your process working on it? Like, did you have any challenges? Like, did you have fun while you were down there, or did people talk to you? You know, things like that.
Ooh. Yes and no, because I had a few people harass me pretty bad while I was working, and I try not to share that level of negativity, especially because I don't want to dissuade anyone from doing this type of work. And this type of work does come with a lot of drawbacks that are pretty hidden. So I want to avoid talking about the bad things because the good things just outweigh it so much. It is very difficult to do these types of large-scale mural works, especially when you focus on service to the public. It's a lot easier to just get up and do a song and dance and be like, okay, I'm out. It's a lot harder to get up and be like, okay, what do you want? How can I help you? What can I do for you? I made the composition in Photoshop. I put it up in spray paint. The theory behind it took as many years as it takes to study the art medium itself and all the layers that go into it, because I wanted to touch on all the layers. I don't know if that answers the question.
I think so.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing more about this. I don't play video games, but some people in my family do, and my partner has been playing what I think would fall under these comfort games, where he's like building little cities and things. I don't know what it's called, but it was just really interesting to hear you talk about this idea of like all these like different genres of video games and how that is like, affecting us like emotionally.
Yeah.
And psychologically. I had not like being part of that world. I thought that was really interesting, and I loved hearing you talk about how like you took like like a digital interface, and then brought that to like our physical realm through your mural. That was so interesting.
Yeah, thank you. It was controversial at first to bring video game culture so intensely and in the forefront to something like fine art, public art sort of deal, because it's often considered that it's hard to respect video games, sort of childish, sort of young, but I feel like a lot of that ties back into what is fun. Is fun disrespectful? Is fun something we should or shouldn't have? Where is it allowed, sort of deal? And by bringing video games into more conversations like this, I am trying to like inherently touch on the concept of fun in of itself and bring that more, hey, let's have fun. Sort of deal.
We had another artist talk this afternoon, and this artist was talking about like just like at all ages finding joy and wonder and curiosity in her everyday, and how that's important to her as a person, but also as an artist. And so we were touching base on a little bit about like how those things are all like really valued for children, but then as we get older, it's like somehow like we're not supposed to have those anymore, or like it's not supposed to be as important as like capitalism or these other things. So I love hearing that, like how much you value that.
Oh yeah. There's a very long quote by, I think, Kurt Vonnegut. I always butcher that last name, I'm not good with.
Sorry.
But it goes something along the lines of the only shame that comes from childlike wonder and immaturity comes from our inner child being ashamed and wanting to be a grown-up. Because a lot of our desire to look mature and look like an adult stems from our inner child demanding to be seen as an adult. But as people get older, they realize that there isn't that much shame to having that and to wanting that. So the quote continues on to be something along the lines of, as people get older, they realize and they shed that, and that's when they go back to being actually mature. It's when they give up on the sense of immaturity. And I wish I could quote it a little bit better, but
Sounds a lot like Bob Dylan's I was so much older then, but I'm younger than that now.
yeah. I love people who use language in that way as a way to really express such a beautiful idea, and that idea of wanting to have fun and be playful has been around for a long time. Like, it's not new, but we just almost ignore it over and over again. So I'm gonna get up here with my microphone and be like, let's not ignore it.
Did you have, you talked about this a little bit, but did you have, when you started this with like your different characters, did you go into it thinking like, I'm gonna have an anime character and I'm gonna have a business person, or were those sort of like developing as you were putting the murals together?
I had a list.
You list.
Yeah, I sat down and I had a list. I thought about all the people that I met in the city, and I started listing like how I remember them. And like, I remember this guy is going to the bar a lot, and I remember this guy is he's really focused on his future, and I remember this jerk, an academic fish, was just me remembering my graduation. And I went through the list and I tried to figure out good characterizations of how to show this with like maybe one or two elements. And that's where the difficulty is.
Have you done more public art pieces than just this one?
Oh yeah. I led the Groovy Opportunity mural over in East Lansing, the big one on the Division Street parking garage with the orange tubes and the blue thing. That big colorful thing is my design. I led that collaboration. Everyone submitted their imagery and the pictures that they drew, and I sat down in Photoshop and I compiled everything together and I made a new design that we went and we painted. And then they asked me to do it again the year after, so I did it again the year after.
And then fun fact, so Ben Duke was a mural next to yours. I didn't know that you guys had worked together
Oh yeah.
previously, and then when we sort of curated where the murals were going, I had no idea that you guys had already worked together and knew each other.
Yeah, he was one of my favorite painting professors at MSU. I think it's so funny to stand next to him, like 8 months after graduating, next to a 10-year painting professor, and be like, yeah, we do it together.
I know, I want to go back down and look at it again and find different characters. So maybe if everybody wants to go down